What do you do about a corrupt sheriff's office being led by a sheriff who is hell-bent on stealing property that is not his? Stick around, we're going to get down to this. What's up, everyone? Today we're going to talk about this a case out of California. But the details of the case hit kind of home for me, and stuff I've been talking about. So I want to go ahead and get into this today. And I found this on Reason.com, and it's about a little over a year old. I'll just read the headline for you and I'll throw it up there if I can edit this properly. Anyways, California sheriff remains free to rob armored cars carrying money from state licensed marijuana businesses. This what we're getting down to today is here's just another case of sheriff's office and sheriffs across this country here in America just taking part in theft and stealing. And this is nothing new for law enforcement. We can find, and I will talk in other videos about some of these other cases and point them out. And I have a relative who himself was robbed. I think it was like $10,000 or $15,000 they took, and they're free to have. And he was looking into possibly getting a lawyer. He said it was his matter was not a matter that it would end up costing him more through fees to try to get his money returned, but it's a matter of what's just and what's not. And that's kind of what's going on. Anyone that's been following my case, this is kind of where I stand. You know, what's right and wrong, and our public servants, how should they be acting? We have sheriffs all across this nation violating the Constitution, violating the laws that we are expected to follow. And if we were to do half the things they do, we would be sitting in jail and all kinds of judgments against us. And so I wanted to talk about this case because, as anyone's been following my case, I've been robbed by the sheriff's office, and they, to this day, their actions against me began in November 2021, and then in August, this past August 2023, August 26th of 2023, they showed up to my house in force, guns out, and ripped me out of my property and would not allow me any of my personal property. And then if you watch the video, I showed up to the sheriff's office, and I've tried to handle this matter several times to get my property back, and they refuse to take any responsibility and refuse to help me get my stolen property back. And I'm talking all of my property. The day I was forced out of that property, I left with my vehicle, my dog, the clothes I was wearing, a box of papers, and a guitar, and that was all. Everything else they took total possession of. Anyways, you know, but you can look at my past videos for that. So I want to talk about this here in California. Let's go ahead and check this out. Federal judge this week declined to issue a temporary restraining order against a California sheriff who used civil forfeiture to rob armored cars carrying money earned by state licensed marijuana businesses. In his ruling, U.S. District Judge John Holcomb said Imperial Logistics, a Pennsylvania-based company that transports cash between businesses and banks, may very well have an excellent case on merits, but had failed to meet the high burden for a TRO. And now, let me stop right there. Anyone that's followed my case, this is a separate thing, of course, and this is down in California, but anyone that's followed my case and actions brought against me, TRO is a temporary restraining order, much like the temporary protection order. Now, they're telling there's a high burden to meet that, to get that temporary restraining order. A high burden has to be met, and this is what I've been trying to say in my case all along. The court has violated my due process rights by issuing on its own merit, with no proof of anything, a temporary protection order against me, and that threw me out of my property and violated all of my rights. And when I try to fight it, it's being ignored, even into the appeals court. They're ignoring the whole violation of my due process rights. And I just want to point that out, that right here, even the courts are here in this case saying that, yes, the company has a lot of merit, but they're failing to meet the high burden for the TRO, temporary restraining order. But when they want to do it, this is a matter of the government flexing its muscle against us. We're no longer a free nation. And one thing I want to point out is these sheriff's offices, they are no longer, they're a voted office, they're an elected office. So they answer to the people, but they're not answering to the people, and they're not working for the people. They're not working for their county's best interest. They are working for their own best interest, and they are in cahoots with the federal government. And my case proves that. And now this case we're looking at here in San Bernardino, California, this case proves that. This sheriff is, let's get further into this. Okay, San Bernardino County Sheriff's deputies stopped Imperial vans 3 times in November, December, and January. They seized cash during 2 of the stops, making off with a total of more than $1 million, which was transferred to the FBI so the Justice Department could pursue forfeiture under federal law. If the government prevails in those forfeiture proceedings, the Sheriff's Department will get to keep up to 80% of the money under the Justice Department's equitable sharing program. The earnings of state licensed marijuana suppliers are not subject to forfeiture under California law. So here, to break that down for a minute, in California, marijuana is legal, right? So but under the federal government standards, it's still federally not legal, and this this creates a problem for anyone who, when the FBI or federal government in whatever form wants to step in and declare you a criminal over marijuana, because the federal government still classifies it as a non-legal, illegal drug, right? And so the sheriff, who's an elected official in California, for the San Bernardino County people, he is instead choosing to side with the federal government, right? So he's partnering up with the FBI, and he seizes this money, turns it over to the FBI, and in return for his services, the FBI kicks back 80% of that money to the sheriff's office, right? And then you got the judges who are refusing to rule against this. So, Mike, if you follow a lot of my videos, and as I'm talking about in my case here in Ohio, I'm proving that the whole system sticks and works together against you, against we the people. And certainly here in Ohio, the judges are in cahoots with the law enforcement and the lawyers, and they're all in cahoots together, and they're coming against we the people, and are working together to make themselves rich and make criminals out of all of us. Making criminals out of us makes them even richer. And so that's what you got going on there. As I said, the sheriff pulls these people over and seizes the cash during the stops, and transfers it over to he works for the FBI, in other words. That's a violation of his oath and a violation of his job duties. But who can fight it, and what answers do you have? So anyways, let's move on. Imperial, which is represented by the Institute for Justice, argues that San Bernardino County Sheriff Shannon Dickus, however you say that name, I don't know, has no authority to seize money from businesses that are complying with state law, that the van searches violated the Fourth Amendment, and that the financial motive for the stops makes them inconsistent with due process. In addition, to Dickus, Imperial sued the Justice Department, Attorney General Merrick Garland, the FBI Director Christopher Wray, the head of the FBI's Los Angeles field office, the Drug Enforcement Administration, and DEA Administrator Ann Milgram. The company argues that the federal officials, by collaborating with Dickus, are, I don't know, it's Dickus, I don't know, are Dickless, are violating a congressional spending rider that bars the Justice Department, which includes the FBI and DEA, from interfering with the implementation of state medical marijuana laws. Regarding that last claim, Holcomb said the evidence presented so far was not sufficient to establish that Imperial and its clients were operating in accordance with California laws, allowing medical use of marijuana. The company says 3 of the 4 businesses whose money was seized on November 16th had medical marijuana licenses. It says all of the money seized on December 9 came from such business. Okay, I'll just move down here. I'll skip through some of this, but if you want to read the whole article on Reason.com, I will leave a link in the description. But I'm going to skip down here. So Holcomb was also unpersuaded by the argument that Dickus had exceeded his authority, since that claim hinges on demonstrating that the business whose money his deputies seized were compliant with state law. Imperial and its clients operate in full compliance with applicable state cannabis laws, the company says in its TRO application. But in Holcomb's view, that assurance is not enough to support a TRO, since the only evidence that Imperial presents is self-serving declarations from its CEO. So Holcomb, says he's unpersuaded. This one thing I'm getting at. This is about your judges, and I hate to be this way, but as I'm saying in my own case, I was having faith in in this Institute of Justice, where it used to be an honorable thing, especially the judges used to be more honorable, and they judged based on law and what the truth and the facts are, and that's no longer happening. If you take my case here in here in Ohio, I had my case now, it's second time in appeals, and I'm gonna do a video on that later. But the appeals once again decided to ignore all the evidence that I've shown, and it just shows that all these judges are in with each other, and citing the government's coming after all of us is what's going on. And they're all, there's no longer any honor within the system, and it's all greed, and they're all getting rich off each other. But so he says that they don't have enough to support a TRO, and only evidence is self-serving declarations from its CEO. Well, we the people, or these businesses like this, in this case, the law wants to choose to side against them, and whatever the people, whatever the sheriff's office, or or a prosecutor or a lawyer or a judge, anything they say is gold and automatically accepted. But when you make your claim, anything you are saying is probably a lie, is how they're looking at it. So for similar reasons, Holcomb says Imperial has not shown that its constitutional claims against Dickus are likely to succeed. Put simply, there is not enough evidence at this time to suggest that Imperial's constitutional rights were violated. He writes, he emphasizes that his order does not now address whether Imperial's rights were violated, nor whether defendants violated any laws. And the sheriff's deputies who pulled over Imperial van on January 6 were even more disappointed. They discovered that it was carrying rolled coins that it had nothing to do with the marijuana industry, so they did not get to seize anything. As in other stops, they did not write a ticket either. You know, so they're looking for the targets that they can get away with this. In other words, if it ain't something that they can side with the federal government on to enrich themselves, then they get disappointed and upset they can't even write a ticket, you know. Because the sale of cannabis and the transport of cannabis proceeds, including in localities where dispensaries are prohibited, are lawful under California law. Imperial says it's in its TRO application, the Fourth Amendment prohibits the sheriff from stopping, searching, or seizing Imperial's personnel or property, namely vehicles, safes, and cash, without reasonable suspicion or probable cause to believe that the property is associated with or is the proceeds of cannabis sales that violate state law. The sheriff is using pretextual traffic stops to search and seize Imperial's property without probable cause. Indeed, the sheriff is not even issuing traffic citations during these stops, just taking Imperial's cash. I'm gonna stop that and right there. And as I said, I'll leave the link in the description for this article if you're interested in reading further. But this is a problem, a growing problem in this nation. The sheriffs are criminals, okay? Our law enforcement personnel are criminals. Here you have down in California, you know, if right here in Ohio, we got it going on all over the place. If you want to pay attention to my case, and there's plenty of other cases I'll do videos of later, but they're criminals. And they get away with their crimes, and they're doing things that would put you in prison. But under the color of law, they're violating rights and then claiming there's no violation of rights, claiming there is no theft. Okay, this is much like if you watch my video, what happened to me. The sheriff is so bold enough to say there is no theft because nobody's going to do nothing about it. And here's a problem we have in this nation: nobody wants to stand up for our rights, and you know, we forget how far we've come all this way over a tax on tea, you know, and what became about that. And you know, I'm not going to sit here and say the forefathers were all the greatest people or whatever. A lot of them were shady stuff, but we have, but out of that, we did get a constitution and rights, you know, I mean, and that acknowledged our rights. And now we have the very people who are serving us, they are our public servants, have turned criminal against us. And, you know, think about this. Here's the thing. This Sheriff Dykes, if you're down there, if you're, you know, let's take here in Ohio, if you're here in Defiance County, Sheriff Doug Engel, you know, wherever, you know, it's not just the sheriffs, it's also the regular police force, it's FBI, anybody. If you have a substantial amount of money or valuables with you, they will take them, and they will come up with some dirty excuse to pull you over if they know you have that stuff with you, or if they pull you over for something stupid. And a lot of times that's what they're doing. They're making up stupid reasons to pull people over, and when they find and a lot of times they're just looking for what they can find. A lot of times around here, they're hoping to find some drugs so they can nail you with that and make money off the fines and everything else. But what a lot of people don't realize is they're not just looking for drugs. They're not looking for criminal activity. What they're looking for is your valuables and your money. And here in Ohio, my case proves that they have taken all of my personal property, and out of that have taken control of my money and valuables and left me with nothing, and nobody's doing nothing about it. And as you see over here down there in California now, this Sheriff Dykes is no different, and he needs to be removed. He is answering and working for the federal government and not his electors, okay, not the people who vote him in, the citizens of that county. And what they're doing is pulling over these vans, and if they can find that they are connected to they're pulling over these armored vans that are transporting, much like you see an armored vehicle transporting money from bank to bank. It's pretty much the same thing, but they're finding the ones that are transporting money connected to the marijuana industry, even though it's legal in that state, and that sheriff has no business doing anything for the federal government. Instead, he does this and does it under color of law for the feds, and then turns around, gives them, they take their cut and pass the rest of it down to. So don't think for 1 minute that the federal judge here, don't think for 1 minute that Holcomb, the judge, is not taking part in that. He's not. He's being compensated for ignoring the truth in law, because what we already read here, and if you can read this article yourself, they've proven their case, this company did, and they've proven that their rights were violated, and the judge ignores it. And this is what we got going on here. Your government has turned criminal against you and me, all of us, and you need to be alert. Don't be carrying, and when you're traveling around, you should consider what you're traveling with. If you have any kind of valuables, whether it be expensive jewelry or expensive collectible items or cash, and if you're traveling around with that, they will look, and they know it, they will certainly find a reason to pull you over. But if they're just doing some kind of, that's all it is fishing expeditions. They'll pull over a bunch of people, and sometimes all they get to do is write off a measly ticket. And sometimes they just let you go with a warning, because really all they're looking for is what they can steal from you. This is what we have going on in our government: stealing, theft. And nobody's classifying it as theft. But if you were down there in California and you was to force a van off the road, armored van off the road, and take off with their loot, then you'll be sitting in prison for that. You will be charged and sent in prison for that. But the sheriff goes, all have at it, all you want. Go ahead and take it. Make sure we get our cut. This is what's going on, and it's really sickening here in this nation. And we got to figure out what to do about it, because this hits, like I said, this hits at home for me. I'm sitting here with nothing, absolutely nothing, and they're totally making my life hell every day. And now my only recourse is I get out there at the video camera and start putting them on the spot. So now they run from me, and when I show up at certain places, they're having me trespassed and everything else, because that's my only recourse, because I've reached out and done all this the honorable way. I went through the courts ignore it, and I reach out to all these other organizations that are supposed to be there to help us get the justice we deserve, and they are all ignoring it. So anyways, I just wanted to share that case with you, and there will be more to come. This is disgusting what's going on in our nation. And thanks for watching. Let me know in the comments what you think. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. And see ya.